7 years of marriage, and my husband has never kissed me. Not at our wedding, when the entire kingdom held its breath, waiting for the traditional claiming kiss that never came. Not on any of the formal occasions where we stand side by side like beautiful statues. Not even by accident when we pass each other in the corridors of this massive, echoing palace that somehow feels smaller every day. I've counted. 2,555 days of existing in the same space as Rowan Thorne, Alpha King of the Northern Territories, and he's never once touched me with anything resembling affection. But tonight, everything changes. Before tonight, he's touched me exactly 3 times. I remember each time with the kind of clarity reserved for moments that carve themselves into your bones. The first, our wedding day, when he took my hand to place the Luna's ring on my finger. His fingers were ice cold, and he released me the second the ring settled into place, like my skin burned him. The second, a state dinner 8 months into our marriage, when I stumbled on the stairs in front of visiting dignitaries. He caught my elbow, for exactly 2 seconds, to steady me, then dropped his hand like I was made of poison. The third, last year when assassins broke into the palace. He shoved me behind him, his palm flat against my shoulder blade, as he shifted into his massive black wolf to tear them apart. The moment the threat was eliminated, he shifted back, stepped away from me, and walked out without a word. 3 touches in 7 years. That's my marriage. And the worst part? I'm still in love with him. I have been since before the wedding, when I was just the daughter of a minor noble house who got lucky enough, or unlucky enough, to catch the eye of the most powerful and isolated alpha in the realm. They say he agreed to marry me because of a political alliance, because my father controlled trade routes he needed, because the council pressured him to take a Luna and produce an heir. They don't say what I've learned through 7 years of sleeping in a bed 10 feet from his, separated by a room divider he installed on our wedding night. Rowan Thorne doesn't want a wife. He wants a political ornament he can display only when necessary, and I've played that role perfectly. The gracious Luna who smiles at state functions, the obedient wife who never complains about the separate beds, the untouched meals I have delivered to his study when he works through dinner, the way he flinches, actually flinches, if I get within 3 feet of him. But tonight, everything changes. Because tonight, I'm dying, and I have exactly 1 chance to tell him the truth before the poison in my veins stops my heart. The banquet had been going well. Too well, in hindsight. The visiting delegation from the southern packs brought gifts, made appropriate speeches, laughed at appropriate times. Their alpha, a silver-haired wolf named Garrett with shrewd gray eyes, was particularly charming. Too charming, perhaps, but I dismissed my unease as paranoia born from living in a loveless marriage. Rowan sat beside me at the high table, close enough that I could smell the cedarwood and winter air scent that clings to him, far enough that we might as well have been in different rooms. The prescribed 2 feet of space between the king and his unwanted Luna. I watched him throughout the dinner the way I always do when I think no one's paying attention. Watched the way his jaw tightens when people address him directly, the way his ice-blue eyes scan the room constantly, always assessing threats. The way his long fingers tap against his wine glass, but he never drinks. Never lets himself be vulnerable enough to dull his senses. He's beautiful in that devastating way that makes my chest ache. Dark hair that he keeps tied back during formal occasions, though strands always escape to frame his sharp features. Tall and powerfully built, moving with a lethal grace even when he's sitting still. And those eyes, pale blue like winter ice that pass over me without seeing. 7 years, and I've never seen them warm. Not for me, anyway. Garrett was mid-speech, something about trade agreements and mutual prosperity, when I noticed Rowan's hand trembling slightly as he reached for his wine. Just a small tremor, barely visible. But I spent 7 years memorizing every detail of this man. I knew his tells. He was in pain. He had been in pain all evening, I realized. The slight tension in his shoulders, the way he gripped the edge of the table when he thought no one was looking, the pallor beneath his naturally tanned skin. Something was wrong, and I'd been too caught up in my own misery to notice. The wine was being poured for the final toast. The servers moved through the room with practiced efficiency, filling goblets. I'd been watching Rowan instead of my own glass, so I'd seen it clearly when the server, a young man I didn't recognize, hesitated for just a fraction of a second over Rowan's goblet. I saw the subtle shimmer as something was added to the wine. My heart stopped. I looked around frantically, but everyone else was focused on Garrett's speech. The guards stationed around the room were watching the crowd, not the servers. And Rowan, lost in whatever private pain he was managing, hadn't noticed. I didn't think, didn't hesitate. Just reached across the space between us and switched our glasses in one smooth motion. My years of etiquette training finally useful for something. Rowan froze, his hand halfway to his goblet. My goblet now, his eyes snapping to mine, with the first direct look he'd given me all evening. In 7 years of careful distance, I'd never deliberately touched anything of his, never crossed that invisible boundary he'd established on our wedding night. Confusion and alarm flickered across his usually impassive face, but it was already too late. I drank the entire glass, in 3 long swallows. The wine tasted wrong, bitter beneath the sweetness, with an aftertaste like metal and decay. I knew immediately what I'd done, but there was a strange calm in the certainty. At least this way I'd die having finally done something that mattered, having finally made him look at me like I was real. Astrid. My name in his voice. I waited 7 years to hear him say it like that, like it mattered, like I mattered. Funny that it took me poisoning myself for him to finally see me. The room erupted into chaos after that. Rowan grabbed my wrist, the 4th time he's touched me in 7 years, and the contact sent shockwaves through my entire system. His skin against mine, his ice blue eyes locked on my face with an intensity that stole my breath. "Why would you do that?" he said with barely controlled fury. "Because someone had to," I said simply, and then the poison hit my system and I doubled over, agony ripping through my chest. Guards swarmed. The young man who poisoned the wine was already dead, a suicide pill dissolved under his tongue before anyone could question him. The Southern delegation was detained. Garrett protested his innocence with just a bit too much conviction. Through it all, Rowan held my wrist. Didn't let go even as the royal healer was summoned, even as I'd collapsed into a chair, even as my vision started to blur at the edges. The healer, an ancient woman named Thessa, with silver-white hair and knowing eyes, took one look at me. One smell of the poison on my breath, and her face went carefully blank in that way healers have when they know you're dead but haven't told you yet. "Night Vein," she said quietly to Rowan, her gaze flicking to where his hand still circled my wrist. Mixed with something else I can't identify. Wolfsbane derivative, perhaps. There's no antidote, my king. I'm sorry. Rowan's grip on my wrist tightened until it hurt. How long? Hours, 6, maybe. The combination is designed to be slow, painful. Thessa looked at me then, and there was something like respect in her ancient eyes. She took a dose meant for someone twice her size. She'll suffer more than if she'd taken a smaller amount. "Can you do anything?" His voice was flat, dead. "Make her comfortable, ease the pain, that's all." Then Rowan did something that shocked me more than the poison burning through my veins. He stood abruptly, swept me up into his arms, the 5th touch, and carried me out of the banquet hall without a word to anyone. I expected him to take me to the healing wing. Instead, he carried me through the palace corridors, up the stairs to the royal quarters, straight into our chambers. He laid me on my bed, not his, with a gentleness that made my chest ache worse than the poison. "Leave us," he said to Thessa, who followed us. "My king, she'll need—" "I said leave." The command in his voice was absolute. Thessa bowed and retreated, closing the door behind her. Then Rowan pulled up a chair beside my bed, the first time he'd ever voluntarily sat this close to me, and buried his face in his hands. "You're an idiot," he said, his voice muffled. "A beautiful, brave, infuriating idiot." Good evening to you too, husband. I was surprised by how steady my voice sounded despite the fire spreading through my chest. Did you come to watch me die? You don't have to. You've been good at avoiding me for 7 years. His head snapped up, and I saw something in his ice-blue eyes I'd never seen before. Anguish. Raw and devastating, barely controlled. I'm not avoiding you now. I suppose dying finally bags be worth your time, I say softly. Don't say that. His words came out sharp, gond. Why not? It's true, isn't it? The Paisan was making me bold. Or maybe I was just done pretending. 7 years, Rowan. 7 years of existing in the same space, sleeping 10 feet apart, living as strangers. And now, because I'm dying, you finally sit in the same room as me willingly. You don't understand. Then explain it to me. I have maybe 5 hours left. The least you can do is tell me why my husband has treated me like a disease for our entire marriage. He stood abruptly, started pacing. I watched him move with that predatory grace, watched him drag his hand through his hair, destroying the careful style. Watched him struggle with words that clearly didn't want to come. I never wanted to hurt you, he finally said. And yet, I whisper, I was trying to protect you. From what? Your presence? Your touch? I laughed bitterly. You've done an excellent job. I've never felt more alone in my life. From me, from what I am, from what's happening to me. He stopped pacing, turned to face me. I'm cursed, Astrid. It started 8 years ago. The world around me tilted. What? A witch. 8 years ago. I was traveling through the borderlands, dealing with territorial disputes. His voice was flat, clinical. She approached me in a tavern, offered herself to me. I refused, politely, I thought. Apparently, not politely enough. He pulled his shirt aside, showing me his shoulder. In the firelight, I could see what I'd never noticed before. Dark veins spreading from a mark on his skin, like poisoned roots growing under his flesh. She cursed me. Said if I wouldn't choose her, I'd never be able to choose anyone. That I'd watch my wolf die slowly, painfully, until there was nothing left. And then I'd follow. His smile had been bleak. She was very creative with her revenge. Your wolf? Is dying. It was slow at first. He let his shirt fall back into place. The council doesn't know. My inner circle knows I'm unwell, but not the full extent. If word got out that the Alpha King was losing his wolf, that he was dying, he shook his head. The northern territories would fracture. Our enemies would attack. Everything I've built would fall apart. So you've been dying in secret for 8 years? I tried to process this, but the poison was making my thoughts fuzzy. Yet you married me anyway. I married you because of the curse. He moved closer, close enough that I could see the exhaustion carved into his face, the weight he'd been carrying alone. Your father's alliance was crucial for the kingdom's stability after I'm gone. And marrying you, giving you my name and title, it would protect you, give you power and resources when I'm not here to do it myself. I couldn't claim you. His voice cracked. The mate bond would have tied you to me completely. You would have felt every moment of my dying, felt my wolf's death throes, experienced my pain as your own. I couldn't do that to you. So you chose for me. My anger cut through the poison fog, decided what I could handle, kept me at a distance for my own good. That's not protection, Rowan. That's cowardice. His face went white. I know. You let me think you didn't want me, that I was repulsive to you, that I'd failed somehow as a wife. The tears came, hot and bitter. Do you know what that does to a person? To spend 7 years wondering what's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with you. You're perfect. You're brilliant and brave, and beautiful, and every day that I've had to watch you from a distance has been torture. Then why? Because I love you. His confession exploded out of him. I've loved you since the day I first saw you, since before we were married. My wolf recognized you immediately as our mate, howled for you, begged me to claim you. His ice-blue eyes were now blazing. And I couldn't, because I was already cursed, and binding you to me would have been the cruelest thing I could do. I stared at him. 7 years of questions answered in one devastating confession. The poison chose that moment to surge, agony ripping through my chest like claws. I gasped, curled in on myself, and Rowan was immediately on the bed beside me, pulling me into his arms like he'd done it 1,000 times before. Our 6th touch. I'm sorry, he whispered against my hair. I'm so sorry. For all of it. For wasting our time. For being too afraid to give you what we both wanted. You're holding me now. My voice was weak, but I needed him to know. That's something. It's not enough. It'll never be enough. His arms tightened around me. You're dying, and it's my fault. If I just claimed you from the beginning, if the bond had been in place, maybe it could have fought the poison. Maybe you'd have a chance. Kiss me, I whisper. He went absolutely still. Kiss me, Rowan. I pulled back enough to look at him, to meet his ice-blue eyes. I have maybe 4 hours left. I've spent 7 years waiting for my husband to kiss me. I'm not dying without knowing what it feels like. Astrid, if I kiss you, the bond will form. It'll hurt you. Good. Let me feel something other than this poison and 7 years of rejection. I reached up, my hand shaking, and touched his face. His sharp intake of breath told me everything about how much that simple touch affected him. Please, give me this one thing. He stared at me for a long moment, warring emotions on his face. Then something shifted. Some final wall crumbled. I can't watch you die alone, he whispered. I can't let you go without you knowing. Then show me. His control shattered. His hands came up to frame my face, gentle despite the desperation in his eyes, and he looked at me like he was memorizing every detail, like this was both the beginning and end of everything. I love you, he said against my lips. I'm sorry I wasted so much time being afraid. Then he kissed me, and my world exploded. The mate bond didn't snap into place. It detonated like a bomb, 7 years of suppressed connection bursting through both of us with a force that stole my breath. Every nerve ending lit up, every sense heightened beyond bearing. I felt his wolf surge forward, howling in recognition and joy and desperate relief. Felt my own wolf, dormant for so long I'd almost forgotten I had one, wake with a roar and answer his call. And through the bond, I felt everything he'd kept hidden for 7 years. The moment he first saw me at a trade negotiation with my father, how his wolf had gone insane trying to reach me. The agony of knowing I was his mate and he couldn't claim me. Every single day of the past 7 years, loving me from a distance, wanting me with an intensity that nearly broke him. The curse eating away at his wolf, the constant pain he'd hidden from everyone, his absolute terror that claiming me would hurt me more than leaving me alone ever could. And he felt me. 7 years of quiet heartbreak, of loving him without hope, of going to sleep every night 10 feet away from my mate and pretending I was fine. Felt the poison burning through my veins right now, trying to stop my heart. Felt my wolf's desperate joy at finally being acknowledged by her mate. The bond was overwhelming. Devastatingly perfect. Rowan broke the kiss with a gasp, his forehead pressed against mine, his hands still cradling my face. You've loved me this whole time, he said, awed and wrecked, even when I gave you every reason not to. I'm stubborn that way, my voice shook. And now you can feel the poison killing me. Was it worth it? Yes. His answer was immediate. Even if I only get to feel this for 4 hours, it's worth it. You're worth everything. But something was happening. Through the bond, I could feel his wolf, no longer dying, but fighting. Fighting the curse with a strength that hadn't been there before, and my wolf was doing the same thing with the poison, attacking it like an enemy instead of letting it spread unopposed. Rowan, I grabbed his shirt. Your wolf, the curse, it's weaker since the bond formed. He sounded shocked. My wolf is actually pushing it back. And the poison. I pressed my hand to my chest. It's still there, but it's not spreading as fast. My wolf she's burning it out. We stared at each other, the same, impossible hope rising between us. The mate bond, he breathed. I think it's trying to heal us both. Then let's help it. I pulled him back down, kissed him again with everything I had. Seal the bond completely. Stop protecting me, and just let me in. I felt the moment he stopped resisting. The moment he tore down every wall he built, every barrier he maintained, and let the bond flood through him without reservation. And it was like being struck by lightning. His curse became mine. I felt the dark magic wrapped around his wolf, choking it, killing it slowly. But I also felt his wolf's strength, his determination, his absolute refusal to die now that he'd finally claimed his mate. And he felt my poison trying to shut down my heart, my lungs, my system, but he also felt my wolf, fierce and stubborn, and so deeply in love with his wolf that she was incinerating the poison cell by cell, refusing to leave him. Fight with me, I gasped against his mouth. Your wolf and mine, together. We stayed like that, wrapped around each other, the bond blazing between us, as our wolves waged war on the things trying to kill us. I lost track of time, lost track of where I ended and he began. All that existed was the bond, the fight, and the desperate love fueling both. I felt the moment my wolf finally burned through the last of the poison, when it dissolved into nothing, and my heart started beating properly again. Felt the surge of triumph from her, the fierce joy, and I felt when Rowan's wolf tore through a huge section of the curse, breaking off chunks of the dark magic and destroying them. The curse wasn't gone, not entirely, but it was significantly weakened. His wolf was no longer dying, just wounded. It worked, Rowan said, wonder in his voice. You're alive. Your heart, it's steady. I could feel his wolf through the bond, strong and vital and so much healthier than he'd been an hour ago. The curse is still there, but it's not killing you anymore. I pulled back to look at him, to see the man I'd loved for 7 years finally, truly seeing me. We bought ourselves time. Time. He cupped my face, his thumb brushing my cheekbone. I'm going to spend every second of it making up for the time I wasted. That's going to be a lot of seconds, I say, trying to hold back my smile. Then I'd better start now. He kissed me again, and this time it was different. Slower, deeper, like we had all the time in the world, instead of borrowed hours stolen from death. When we finally broke apart, I was breathless and warm, and more alive than I'd felt in 7 years. The council is going to have questions, I said practically, about why we're both still breathing when we should be dead. The council can wait. He shifted, pulling me fully into his arms. Right now, all that matters is that you're alive, and that I'm never, ever, sleeping in a separate bed again. He pressed a kiss to my forehead. I settled against his chest, listening to his heartbeat, feeling his wolf contentedly curled around mine through the bond. Outside, I could hear voices, guards probably, and Thessa checking on us. But Rowan made no move to answer them. They think we're dying in here, I pointed out. Let them think it for a few more hours. I'm not ready to share you with the world yet. Possessive? You have no idea. His arms tightened. 7 years of watching other males look at you, knowing you were mine, but unable to claim you. Do you know how many wolves I almost killed for looking at you too long? What about the curse? It's weaker, but it's still there. Then we'll fight it. Together. Every day if we have to. His ice blue eyes were fierce. We just survived a night that should have killed us both. A weakened curse doesn't stand a chance against us. You make it sound so simple, I said. Maybe it is. Maybe I made it too complicated by trying to face it alone. He kissed me softly. But I'm not alone anymore. Neither of us are. We stayed like that for hours, talking, kissing, making up for 7 years of silence. He told me about the curse in detail, about the witch and how he'd tried everything to break it. I told him about my quiet heartbreak, about the nights I'd cried into my pillow, about the days I'd wondered what was wrong with me, that my own husband couldn't bear to touch me. We were both broken, in different ways. Then we'll heal each other. He pulled me closer. Starting now. Eventually, Thessa knocked insistently enough that Rowan growled and got up to answer. She took one look at us. Me sitting up in bed, alive and healthy. Rowan standing protective and unwilling to leave my side. And her ancient eyes widened. The bond, she'd breathed. You formed the mate bond. We did, Rowan confirmed. And it saved us both. Impossible. But she was smiling as she said it, though I suppose love often is. She examined us both thoroughly, then shook her head. The poison is completely burned away from her system, and you, the curse is still present, but significantly weakened. Your wolf is stronger than I've seen him in years. She looked between us. You'll need to keep strengthening it. The curse will try to regenerate. And there's still the question of who poisoned you and why. Garrett, Rowan said immediately. The Southern Alpha. It has to be. But when they went to question Garrett, he was dead. Poisoned himself with the same night vein mixture. A suicide to avoid interrogation. Someone is covering their tracks, Rowan said grimly. This was a coordinated attack. Over the next few days, as Rowan and I learned to navigate our new bond, 3 more attempts were made on our lives. Poisoned food, an accidental fire in our chambers. A sniper with silver-tipped arrows. All of them failed, because now we were bonded. I could feel through our connection when Rowan was in danger, and he could feel the same for me. We protected each other with a level of coordination that made our guards jealous. But someone really, really wanted us dead. It's not just about killing me anymore, Rowan said after the 3rd attempt. It's about killing both of us. Because together we're stronger than apart, I said with a dawning realization. Whoever's behind this, they weren't expecting us to bond, weren't expecting the curse to weaken. They wanted me to die slowly, alone, with the kingdom fracturing around me. His jaw was tight. The question is why? The answer would come from an unexpected source. My father, Lord Brennan. He requested an audience 4 days after the banquet. I was nervous. We hadn't spoken since my wedding 7 years ago, the alliance complete and his usefulness to the crown finished. But when he entered the throne room, he looked older than I remembered, tired and afraid. I need to tell you something, he said without preamble, about why I really agreed to the marriage alliance. Rowan went very still beside me. We were sitting on thrones positioned close together now instead of the traditional distant placement, one of many changes we made in the past few days. I was being blackmailed, my father continued. 8 years ago I made a deal with a witch. She promised me prosperity, wealth, power. In exchange, he swallowed hard. In exchange, I agreed to help her destroy the Alpha King. The throne room went dead silent. You, Rowan said, his voice deadly calm. You helped her curse me. I didn't know what she planned. I thought she just wanted trade agreements, political influence. By the time I realized she'd cursed you, it was too late. My father looked at me then, his eyes pleading. She told me if I didn't cooperate, she'd kill my daughter, my Astrid. So I arranged the marriage. You sold me to him, I said slowly, to protect me from the witch who cursed him. To get you close to him. She wanted a spy in the palace. Someone who could report on the curse's progress. On when he was weak enough to be overthrown. He dropped to his knees. I'm sorry, Astrid. I never meant for you to suffer. I thought she'd leave you alone if you were here, under the king's protection. But I refused to spy. I've never reported anything to you in 7 years. Because you're better than me, stronger than me. Tears tracked down his face. And now the witch knows. Knows you chose the king over her plans. Knows the curse is weakened. She's furious. Who is she? Rowan had demanded. Morgana Blackwood. She rules the borderlands now. She has for the past 8 years. Built an empire on dark magic and fear. My father looked broken. And she's coming for you both. She won't stop until you're dead. So the curse wasn't random revenge. It was a calculated political move. Morgana wanted Rowan weak, dying, his kingdom ripe for conquest. And my father had been her unwitting pawn. We need to find her and make her break the curse completely, I said after my father was taken away, not to a dungeon but to protective custody. He betrayed Rowan, yes, but he also just gave us vital information. She won't break it willingly. Then we force her. Rowan smiled, a real smile, the kind I was getting used to seeing now. You really are bloodthirsty under all that grace. She tried to kill you. She made 7 years of our lives hell. I'm entitled to a little bloodthirst. I love you. I love you too. Now let's go kill a witch. But Morgana didn't wait for us to come to her. 3 days after my father's confession, she walked right into the palace. She came during the day, when the court was in session, and she was beautiful in that terrible way that made you understand why men fell for her traps. Dark hair, darker eyes, dressed in black that seemed to absorb light. Rowan, she purred, walking right up to the throne like she owned the place. It's been a while. Morgana. His voice was cold. I felt his rage through the bond, carefully controlled. I was planning to kill you. You've saved me the trouble of traveling to the borderlands. Oh, I'm not here to die. She looked at me then, and her smile curved in a cruel way. I'm here to collect what's mine. I'm not yours, Rowan said. I never was. Not you, darling. Her. She pointed at me. Astrid Brennan, daughter of the man who promised me a spy. You see, when she failed to report to me, I activated the secondary clause of our contract. Ice filled my veins. What secondary clause? The one where, if the spy doesn't cooperate, they become mine instead, body and soul. Morgana's smile widened. Your father signed you over to me, sweetling. You've been mine since the day you married the king. That's not legally binding, one of the council members interrupted. In human law, no, but in witch law, Morgana shrugged. Your father made a blood contract, and blood contracts are absolute. Rowan stood, and I felt his wolf rising, ready to tear her apart. You're not taking her. I already have her. I'm just here to collect. She pulled out a piece of parchment, covered in symbols I didn't recognize, and what looked like dried blood. The contract is clear. Astrid Brennan belongs to me. And if you try to stop me from taking what's mine, she smiled, the curse will reactivate. Fully. You'll be dead within days. I'd rather die fighting than belong to you, I said, standing beside Rowan. Oh, you won't die. You'll just wish you had. Morgana started chanting then, words in a language that hurt to hear, and I felt something wrap around me. Something cold and dark and wrong. The bond flared in response, Rowan's wolf and mine, both snarling in defiance. But whatever magic Morgana was using was strong, ancient. I felt it trying to sever the mate bond, trying to rip me away from Rowan. No, Rowan growled, and then he shifted. His massive black wolf lunged for Morgana, and she laughed, actually laughed, as she stopped him with a gesture, dark magic pinning him in place. You can't fight a blood contract, wolf. It's absolute. But she underestimated one thing. Me. I spent 7 years learning to be invisible, learning to move through the palace unnoticed, learning every secret passage, every hidden route. And in those 7 years, I'd also been learning Luna magic. The ancient magic that all true Lunas possess, passed down through bloodlines, taught in secret by the previous Luna before she died. Rowan didn't know. No one knew. I discovered the books in a hidden library, taught myself from ancient texts because I needed something to fill the empty hours of my loveless marriage. And now I was ready to use it. Blood contracts can be broken, I said calmly, stepping forward even as Morgana's magic tried to pull me toward her, if the blood that sealed them is reclaimed. Morgana's smile faltered. What nonsense are you saying? My father's blood sealed the contract, but my blood can break it. I pulled out the small knife I'd hidden in my sleeve, a habit I'd developed after the first assassination attempt. Luna magic trumps witch magic. It always has. You can't possibly, Morgana started, but I was already moving. I cut my palm, let my blood drip onto the parchment she held, and I spoke the words I memorized from the ancient texts, words in the old tongue that resonated with power. The contract burst into flames. Silver flames that didn't burn me but made Morgana scream with agony. And with the contract broken, the dark magic holding Rowan shattered. His wolf was on her in seconds, massive jaws closing around her throat. Not killing, not yet, but holding her immobile while I finished the spell. Break the curse, I commanded, my voice echoing with Luna authority I'd never used before. Break it now, or my mate tears your throat out. You can't make me. Rowan's jaws tightened around her, drawing blood. All right, Morgana gasped in panic. I'll break it. She chanted something, bitter and reluctant, and I felt it through the bond. The curse unraveling completely, the dark magic dissipating like smoke. Rowan's wolf went from wounded to completely whole in seconds, the transformation so sudden it was almost violent. It's done, Morgana spat. Now call off your beast. No. Rowan shifted back, but he kept one hand on her throat, claws extended. You tried to kill me, tried to enslave my mate, terrorized my kingdom for 8 years. Give me one reason I shouldn't end you right here. Because I'm not the only one involved. Morgana smiled despite the claws at her throat. You think I acted alone? I had help. Powerful help. People in your own court who wanted you dead. Names. Counselor Theron, General Vasher, Lady Meredith. Each name landed like a bomb. All of them promised me resources, information, access. All of them wanted you gone so they could install a puppet king. Rowan's face looked deadly now. Guards, arrest those 3, now. The throne room erupted into chaos as guards moved to seize the named traitors. Theron tried to run and was tackled. Vasher drew his sword and was disarmed within seconds. Lady Meredith just stood there frozen, her face blank with shock. This isn't over, Morgana hissed. Kill me and my coven will... Your coven will do nothing, I interrupted, because I'm the Luna of the Northern Territories, and under ancient law I have the right to claim dominion over any witch who threatens my mate. I leaned close, letting her see the steel in my eyes. You came into my house, threatened my husband, tried to enslave me. Under Luna law, I can bind you to me, make you my creature. Is that what you want? Fear flashed across Morgana's face. You wouldn't dare. We stared at each other, wills clashing. Finally, she looked away. "What do you want?" she spat. "Exile. Take your coven and leave the Northern Territories. Never return. Never target my mate or my kingdom again." I straightened. "Do that, and I'll let you keep your power and your freedom. Refuse, and I'll bind you so thoroughly you'll be nothing but a servant." "You're bluffing," she hissed. "Am I?" I let a hint of Luna magic flare around me, silver light that made her flinch. "Test me and find out." I watched the calculation in Morgana's dark eyes, watched her weigh her options, fight and risk being bound forever, or accept exile and keep her power. Finally, her shoulders sagged. "Fine." The word was bitter, defeated. "I'll take my coven and leave your precious territories." She looked at Rowan then, still pinned beneath his hand. "But know this, Wolf. She's stronger than you deserve. Stronger than you ever gave her credit for." "I know," Rowan said quietly. "That's why she's my mate." Within a day, she gathered her coven, a dozen witches who looked at me with varying degrees of fear and anger as they left, and disappeared into the borderlands. Gone, but not broken. Defeated, but not destroyed. I let her go with her dignity intact. Something told me that would matter more in the long run than grinding her into dust would have. The traitors in the court were also dealt with, tried, convicted, and exiled or imprisoned depending on their level of involvement. It turned out Garrett's attempt to poison Rowan had been orchestrated by Theron, who promised Morgana he'd weaken Rowan enough for her to finish the job. A week after Morgana's exile, I woke to Rowan's arms around me and sunlight streaming through our windows. Our shared windows. Our shared bed. Our shared life. Finally, properly lived. "You're thinking loudly," Rowan murmured against my hair, his voice rough with sleep. "Just thinking about everything that's changed. Everything for the better, I hope. Definitely for the better." I turned in his arms to face him. His ice blue eyes were warm now when they looked at me, a warmth I'd never thought I'd see. "Though I'm still angry at you for wasting 7 years. Good thing the curse is broken, and I can spend the rest of my life making it up to you." He kissed me softly. "Thanks to you. Again. You keep saving me. That's what mates do. Is that what we do?" His hand slid to my waist, pulling me closer. "Because I thought we also did this." He kissed me deeper, and I melted into him, 7 years of starvation blissfully satisfied. When we broke apart, he was smiling that real smile I'd fought so hard to see. "The council wants to discuss succession," he said. "They're very excited about the prospect of heirs now that we're properly mated. Let them be excited. We'll get around to it eventually." I traced his jaw with my finger. "Right now, I'm more interested in making up for lost time. 7 years of conversations we didn't have, meals we didn't share, nights we spent apart." I kissed him. "I want all of it. All the mundane, boring, everyday moments we missed." Over the next few months, we fell into a routine that was everything a marriage should be. Breakfast together, lunches where he'd pull me away from my Luna duties to steal kisses, dinners where we actually talked, actually shared our days, nights where we fell asleep tangled together, the mate bond humming contentedly between us. The kingdom flourished with Rowan no longer dying, and me no longer pretending to be a hollow ornament. We ruled together, made decisions together, faced challenges together, and slowly, carefully, we built the relationship we should have had from the beginning. 3 months after the curse broke, I started feeling different, tired in the mornings, sensitive to smells, crying at things that normally wouldn't affect me. Thessa had taken one look at me, one test of my blood, and smiled her ancient smile. "Congratulations, Luna. You're pregnant." I stared at her. "What?" "Pregnant. About 6 weeks along, I'd estimate." She patted my hand. "The heir the council has been pestering you about is on the way." I found Rowan in the training yard, shirtless and sparring with his guards, his muscles moving with that lethal grace that still made my breath catch. When he saw me, he immediately stopped, crossing to me with concern on his face. "What's wrong?" I took his hand and placed it over my still flat stomach. "Everything's right. We're having a baby." He went absolutely still. "A baby?" "An heir. In about 7 months." Wonder crossed his face. "We're having a family." He kissed me then, in front of all his guards, deep and claiming and full of joy. And when he broke away, he dropped to his knees and pressed his forehead against my stomach. "I promise I won't waste a single moment with you. Either of you. Never again." I ran my fingers through his hair. "We don't waste time anymore. That's not who we are. 7 years of silence and distance. Broken by one desperate kiss and a poison that should have killed me. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't drunk that wine. If Rowan had died slowly, alone, the curse taking him. If I'd spent the rest of my life wondering what I'd done wrong. But I now know that some people are worth fighting for, worth poisoning yourself for, worth breaking every rule and facing down witches and betraying your own father for. Rowan Thorne is mine, and I'm his. It just took 7 years, a curse, a near-death experience, and one desperate kiss to make us both admit it. But we got there in the end. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Where are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. I love hearing your thoughts, and if you'd like to support me, please subscribe. It's free, and it helps more people hear these stories.